Hola, buenas tardes. Yo puedo hablar un poquito español, pero para mí es mejor hablar en inglés, porque esto me da vergüenza. Sí. This talk, it says press start to play. Now it's press X to play. I'm a button masher, as video gamers are. So, you know, we have to press a button to play in order to find out how to create a good life, a good career, if you want to call it that, for us in the video game industry. And you are all here to present your projects or to look at the presented projects tonight. I hope you're very proud of your achievements. I'm very curious to see the projects. I saw them from upstairs earlier, some of them, and they look really interesting, the ones I saw. So let's look together at some of the skills that we need in order to feel comfortable and advance in the video game industry. Let's talk about me, just in case you're wondering. He already said a little bit, but I'm Judith. I started to work at Nintendo in 2006. I started 1 year, worked as a tester, so I started in QA. Then I translated video games for 2 years. Then I became a producer at Crytek in Frankfurt. All of this is in Frankfurt, Germany. I worked on Crisis 2, Crisis 2 conversion to Crisis 1 conversion to consoles, and then I started in Crisis 3 as well. Did a lot of motion capture. I was in the production, motion capture, localization, actor casting, all this kind of stuff, voice recordings, and it was great, but it was also a lot of work. And then after altogether 6 years in Frankfurt, I went to Sweden and I started to work in a small mobile studio. So we did mobile games. The studio operated under many names because we kept being sold to other investors. Yeah, and that's the current status. There's my Pokemon picture. A friend of mine drew me as a Pokemon. Yeah, so that's me as a, and it's called, yeah. Anyway, let's have a look at the industry together. Why do I like the industry? I've seen some industries. I have started out as a journalist. I studied linguistics, so I never studied anything like video game development because when I started there was no such thing. I have seen a lot of, I worked with a lot of athletes. I've worked with video gamers. I've worked with journalists. I've worked with scuba divers. I'm also a dive instructor when I'm not developing games. So from this point of view, I can say the video game industry is one of the most colorful crowds that I've ever seen. I'm also a big nerd, so I love the video game industry for being very nerdy. Once we went to the Redwood Forest after GDC and we reenacted, you know, the Battle of Endor around the big trees. So you can only do that when you work with video game developers, I think, or with, you know, maybe movie people as well. So we have the crowd, they're genius, very creative. I have never worked with a more international crowd than the video game people. I work in one studio and there's people from, at Crytek, we actually worked with 33 nationalities. So at the end of the game, we had a thank you note and it was in 33 languages. And I actually had to tell people, you cannot use all of your mother tongues because the credits are going to be too long. So very quirky, very creative. And my favorite thing, there is no dress code. And I love it. And this is why, you know, I'm here like this with a threadless t-shirt because it's fantastic, and I cannot imagine dressing up in a suit. I have an example from our senior coder, Carrie, who's working from home, and he suggests working naked on Fridays, which in, you know, Vancouverian is called al fresco because they have not understood what the word means, but so he's working from home and he posted a picture with his too, but I thought I wouldn't show it. Yeah, so this is Carrie, and then he's also working from coffee shops, and they wouldn't let him take off his clothes on a Friday. It's very sad for him. yeah, let's look at the pace of the video game industry. The video game industry is moving very, very fast. As you probably have noticed, I mean, we only started when were the first video games made. Let's skip the 60s and 70s with the early prototypes, and you know, but then in the 80s, I remember having my first computer, 286, in the 90s, also because I'm from East Germany and there were no computers before the wall came down. But so it's pretty young. Now it's 25 years later, you know, and so we have lots of different development types. They keep changing. We have consoles. I actually wanted to put arcade up there, but I forgot. So like there's also arcade games. There's PC. We have mobile industry, super big. As you can see, you know, you guys have the King studio here in Barcelona. It's the biggest, I don't know, I don't want to talk about King. It's really, really, really big money-making machine, very successful. We have VR, and then the latest thing, Pokemon Go, right? It completely killed everything else. I wonder how many VR projects were canceled because people said, I want to make something like Pokemon Go. You know, so like, and then who knows what's next? Maybe you know something that I don't know. I'm not claiming to be up to date. There might be much more. So the industry is very, very fast. We can also look at the game hubs all over the world, but I thought Europe is more interesting because we're in Europe. This is a poll that was on Gamasutra. It was done in 2015. So the people that were asked to look back to 2005 and say which European countries created the best games, and we see the UK leading the whole thing with a little bit of Sweden, France, and Finland, and I don't know, Germany, of course, yeah, well, and then they were asked to do the same for 2015, and we see how other European countries are catching up. I guess Finland with Angry Birds, and then we have The Witcher in Poland, and we have Netherlands, and it's probably Gorilla, but I don't really know what Norway is. Maybe somebody can tell me later. But it's really interesting to see this evening out. So we have a lot of hubs. They keep changing. They were asked to look into the future, into 2020. And then we see more countries popping up. So we have more hubs. We also have Spain. It's showing up there, you know, at the bottom a little bit. You guys have the potential to change it. Or next time, like maybe if they ask you, you can rig the polls. And then, yeah, but it's very interesting to see. And I think it also shows how important it is, if you're a video game developer, how important it is to speak English, you know, or, and to move around, if you want to move around, because this is just Europe, and then you have the States and Canada and whatever else, Singapore and other studios in China, and I don't know. So we have our genius, international, awesome, nerdy crowd. It's very fast-paced and mobile, and like everything, the video game industry has a dark side, and it's the, you know, infamous crunch time, and we have layoffs, we have disillusioned developers, we have people getting fired, and then there's always Kotaku, which is, you know, making a big drama out of everything. But sometimes they're right, and the pink article was actually from last year from The Guardian, so it's not even game industry specific. So on the downside, you know, we have all of this. Now it's a long time ago, but we had EA Spouse uncovering the bad gaming conditions, and then, you know, it's a long time ago, 12 years ago, but it's still valid. Sadly, we have uncertain future because studios keep closing, keep opening. We have pretty bad management sometimes, and I've seen some bad management. We have bad hiring decisions where especially high-level people come in, they destroy your project, and then they go and they get a lot of money. And as a result of this, experienced developers turn away. So this is what happens. And now let's see if it keeps clicking. Ah, there we go. We have overworked developers, they're disillusioned, they're laid off, and they're crunching. So this is our view of the video game industry, or at least it's my view. It's awesome, it's fast-paced, and there's also a downside. So it's very uncertain. And we could, you know, be depressed and be like, oh no, it's terrible, we're going to be laid off. But I think we should welcome it. We should say, yay, I'm going to welcome this uncertainty, which also means it's just a personal thing. You should always when you're in a job, you should save money immediately, just so for emergencies you have two monthly salaries, just in case you get fired, but that's just my personal thing. So you should welcome this uncertainty and, you know, just embrace it, because but otherwise you're going to be unhappy. So how do you start a career in these uncertain times? I'm warning you before I click the next slide, I think the picture is very bad quality, and on the big screen it will look terrible, yeah? So if you get dizzy, just close your eyes. Oh, it's crashing. What happened? Anyway, so this was our, yeah, maybe this is it's our crisis. We were finally in crisis. I think the project management team is going to be pretty happy that they're not visible. This is the project management team, and it's at 1 in the morning, or maybe it's at 2 in the morning, because we were crunching hard. You know, normally you go home at 6, but this was, and then we would order the pizzas. I would order the pizzas, or the bagels, or the Thai food, and I had big spreadsheets, and I was actually getting pretty good at Excel, because I was always ordering for 100 people. And especially with the bagel toppings, it was really difficult. But yeah, so, and the red circle was originally around my face. I'm the one in the stripy shirt. I was not feeling well at the time. I had stomach ulcers. I was smoking a lot. I think I was throwing up a lot. This is maybe something that you don't want to know, but I was really overworked. I was not getting money for it. And I don't think it advanced me on a personal level. It just made my bosses richer. So this is what was happening. And we were actually, at this time, we were pretty okay with it. We were even joking, maybe we should put the number of dishes that we have ordered as crunch menus, maybe we should put this on Twitter. And then we thought, I think that's a bad idea, because that would mean that we actually think crunch is a normal thing. And then this happened in another project at Crytek, which was called Rise. There was a famous tweet. By the time Rise ships for Xbox One, we will have served the crunching team more than 11,500 dinners throughout development. So this one, it led to a huge shitstorm on Kotaku and everywhere, actually everywhere that's related to the game industry. Everybody was, the tweet is deleted now, but you know, the internet never forgets anything, does it? There was a big shitstorm, and just to look at this number again, we have 11,500 crunch dinners, which means that if you have a team of 100 developers, if they work longer, 2 or 3 hours every day, and then they come in on the Sunday, that would mean 3.7 months of unpaid overtime. That means almost 4 months of not seeing their family or their friends at night, of not going hiking on the weekend. And all of this money, it was going, you know, it was money that was not spent by the developer, and it was money that was paid by the people that were working for the company. And if you have a single person, that means they would work 11 years without getting payment. So that's a shitload of free work time from the development team. And the big question is this, if you're working at a company, any company, and they demand, or they ask you politely, hey, we're going to give you pizza, you know, if you stay longer for 3 hours every day, is this something that you want to do? I think it's a really, really, really important question that you have to figure out with your own conscience. Is this something that I want to do? Here is a chart from Gamma Sutra. Again, it's a poll. It tells the average developer experience, the average time that a developer has worked in the video game industry. Let's just look at the green one on the left, the red one at the bottom, and then the blue one on the bottom right. Together it's around 71%. And this means that 71% of people in the game industry have not worked in the industry for longer than 6 years. So after 6 years, people drop out of the game industry. Only 20–30% remain. Admittedly, the poll is a little older. It's from 2010. I don't think it has changed. Maybe it has changed a little bit, but not much. But the thing is, how can an industry mature if people don't stay in the industry for more than 6 years? And then they take everything that they have learned and they go into a different industry and just use all the applied knowledge and go somewhere else and say, screw this. So this is one of the key things that has to be fixed. And it also, if you go into the game industry, it will be your task also to help fix it, you know, to say, all of this that I have learned by, for instance, saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to work without getting money. It's not fun. I want to go hiking, you know, or like I want to have a paella in Valencia, or like, I don't know, something. And then you should just say, no, I don't want this. And so there is an interesting quote by a Canadian researcher, and she says, students and young new entrants to the industry see crunch and unpaid overtime as the price of admission. And this is one of the things, it was in her poll, it turned out that people, they were actually saying, yes, we are willing to do this unpaid overtime in order to get a pedigree, but this is the thing, you don't have to do it. You have to, you can, you know, it's like, it's your decision, but you have to be aware of it, that people are willing to accept it, but they don't have to be. Here is the good news. We have the crunch time over the years. In the first, we see 2014, 2.4% said they did not crunch in the past 2 years, which means that 97.6% did crunch in the past 2 years. And in 2014, this number has increased to 19%, which means that 81% did crunch in the past 2 years, but then again, 19% didn't. So this is, we're definitely improving, and I think this is a result of people saying, no, we do not want to work without getting paid. So this is one of these things, you have to keep it in mind, as people are suggesting that you might as well do 2 or 3 more hours every day. You can say, yes, I do, but I want to be paid for it. And you can also see an upwards improvement on the right side, which means that people are crunching less time. You know, they might still be crunching, but they're not working so hard anymore, which is an improvement. And I have the feeling as you go into the industry, it will become even better, especially if you're aware of it. Wait, yes, it's dead again. What to do when faced with crunch? Yes. I cannot tell you a recipe, but I think one of the things that you have to keep in mind, that you're giving your lifetime, you know, your hourglass is ticking. Do you want to give it for the cause, whichever cause it is? Yeah, this is the recipe. We can see that crunch is a sign of poor management. So if there is a crunch, something is going wrong somewhere. I can't say where, because it really depends. It could be the publisher, it could be your immediate project manager, it could be the one higher up, it could be the CEO, because maybe he's a psychopath. You never know. Draw your own conclusions. You know, look at the situation, reflect over it, and then act. Is this something, if we finish this project, I can go on and continue my own stuff for where I actually get money? Yes. In this case, maybe you should crunch. It's, you know, it's one of those, maybe you love working, maybe you don't have anything else to do. And, you know, and then, draw your own conclusions. And also one of these things, we saw the chart earlier with all of the countries, you know, where people are working now in the video game industry. In case you ever move to a different country, which I think a lot of you will, be aware of the labor laws in the country where you work. I have worked in the Nintendo studio in Frankfurt. There's lots of people from Spain, from France, from Italy, from the Netherlands, from the UK, from Japan, and of course Germans. A lot of the people, even the Germans, but many of the other people, they didn't know the labor laws in Germany. And so this is one of the things you can actually, for instance, form a group and say, we are going to form a group in the company now, and we don't want to work overtime. And we're going to register kind of like a labor union, you know, in the company. And then we saw this, I don't know if you've been following the news, it happened in Hamburg at Good Game Studio, which is a very evil name because they're evil, apparently, but they tried to form such a union, and as a result, 60 people were fired, and I think as another result, 500 were fired. But this is the thing, be aware of the laws of the country where you're in, just so you have leverage. You can actually do something, and you don't have to say, oh, I can't do something, they're forcing me to work, and if not, I'm going to be fired. It's not true. You have the power, and you know, it's like Public Enemy, fight the power, but also And then there's always the International Game Developer Association. They're not a labor union, but you can actually contact them and get advice. So, yes, we have the next thing. We have unpredictable tech. I don't know what's going to happen with tech. Some people say, you know, we have reached singularity by 2040, which means that I think machines will take over the world, and the Terminator scenario is going to set in. So I don't know, but I will just give you, you know, view into the past. 1977, 2 years before I was born. Yeah, there's no reason anybody would want a computer in their home. I took a screenshot. I thought it would be funny. Also, I have a computer in my pocket. As I'm speaking, I think I don't have a computer in my home because it's at the hotel. So he was right in a way, but in a way that he didn't predict. We cannot say how the industry and how the technology is going to develop. You know, everybody can make guesses, and 50% of the guesses are going to be right, but we cannot say which ones. This is what we can say. A lot of stuff is going to be automated. A lot of the jobs that exist today, they're going to be automated away. A lot of the jobs are going to be outsourced. They're going to be outsourced maybe to India where it's cheaper, but maybe also just to a person that knows it really well and that is more effective than at the company where we're currently working. And everything is getting more mobile. And you have already seen all of this and you know this is happening because it's a very obvious movement. We have, I found a quote by a Harvard economist. He's talking about the future skills that we will need. And he says, what will be rewarded are the abilities to pick up new skills, to remain attuned to your environment, and the capacity to discover creative solutions that move beyond the standard of doing things. And he also says, how good are you, like this will be important, how good are you at solving unstructured problems? How good are you at solving a new problem that hasn't been there before? This will be the skills of the future. So you have to be able to keep learning to understand a problem that you've never understood before. You will be sitting in front of a problem you cannot even, you know, it's so vast and new, and this is the stuff that you will have to solve in the future. So, and then let's also have a look at the stuff that can be outsourced. I'm going to mention all of the things that in my 10 years in the video game industry I have seen outsourced. Quality assurance, localization, art, code, cinematics, animation, community management, game evaluation, marketing, web design, accounting, legal, HR. All of this has been outsourced previously. So that means there's a lot of stuff where you think, oh, hey, I can work in this. But then again, you can also hire people that can do this much better, much more effectively. And then where did your job go? I have also seen entire aspects of the game outsourced. When I was working on Crisis 2, the whole multiplayer was developed in Nottingham. So we in Frankfurt, we never saw a bit of the multiplayer. And in the end, the two games were put together, and that was it. So we had outsourced an entire aspect of the game. And when I was in Stockholm, we actually had a whole game. And it was developed in another studio, but it was still our game. So essentially, we had outsourced the game itself. Everything can be outsourced. And this will be one of the things that's going to happen more and more in the future. So we look at the future of lifelong learning. We can already see this now. We have Lynda, we have Coursera. You can have an online master in anything. I can say today, I want to learn how Android Studio works because I don't have a clue. And then I go to Lynda, and they will explain it to me in 10 hours or in 4. And then I can develop and deploy mobile apps. You know, they're going to be really shitty, but I can do it. And then everything's going to be mobile. There's also a quote that by now automation is blind to the color of the color. Originally, it was said, automation will automate away all of the blue-collar jobs, so all of the, you know, like, I don't know, bank, what is it, like trash pickers or something like that, people that pick up the trash. I don't know anything, working class jobs, but it's actually also going to get the white-collar jobs. So at the end, one day you're going to realize the job that I had actually can be done by a machine much more effectively. You know, I'm not looking at anyone. Maybe you have the job that it won't happen to it, but you never know. What's our benefit from this? Because there is one. Yeah, the arrow, I didn't, no, anyway, it's my first time with Google Slides. So we have more time, and it's fantastic. We have, and I think the alternative to this scenario is that we sit there and we're like, oh no, somebody took away my job. But actually we can say, I can do something else. In my case, I can go scuba diving because, you know, it's my favorite thing. You know, and then I do my work, and then I just pack my stuff and I go and jump into the sea. We have more time for ourselves, and we have more time to learn new stuff. We have more time. I have some examples how people actually use this time, or how they use time creatively in this new setting. There's Kerry again. He was in the coffee shop. This is the thing, actually, I wanted to move the slide, but it's a good example because he's working from the coffee shop. So instead of working from anywhere, he just goes and has coffee. That's a good use of the time. I don't know if you've heard of this game. It just came out on iOS. It's nice. You know, it's not the best game ever, but it's kind of cute. Burning Men at Sea. But the interesting thing is, it's developed by a husband and wife, and they went woofing. I don't know if you guys know what woofing is, but it's when you work on farms and you pick olives or apples, and as in exchange you get a room and board. So what they did is essentially they did not spend money. They just worked at a farm, and when they didn't work, they developed this game. So I think this is a very, very good pointer at how things are going to develop in the future. You can go woofing, and when you're not working at the farm, you can create your game. These are the two games that we developed in Stockholm. The left one is a zombie shooter in mobile. The right one is a sci-fi shooter in mobile. We were asked to develop shooters in mobile. It didn't really work out very well. Anyway, we needed particle effects. We didn't have an effects artist. So I was sitting in Stockholm. I asked one of my friends in Frankfurt if he knew someone. He had worked in Copenhagen, which is almost around the corner. He had said, it's only 7 hours away, you know. So he said, yeah, I know this guy in Stockholm. He's a particle effects artist, or an effects artist, but he's already working at another company. He's working in Arrowhead. I don't know if you guys know Arrowhead, but it's a really awesome company. They did Gauntlet and Magica and, you know, lots of cool stuff. They're very creative. It's amazing. They can, if you ever go to video game pub quiz with the CEO, you're going to lose because he knows every answer to all of the obscure questions. Anyway, so these guys, we asked them, can we borrow your particle effects artist? And they were like, yeah, okay. You know, he can come over if he wants to. He can come over for a few hours every week. So we gave him a Unity license, a key to the office. And then, because it was on his way home, he would come late at night. And then the next morning, he had checked in particle effects and we had explosions. So this is one of these things that's going to happen more and more into the future. In the future, you know, maybe there's no room for a whole job. It's just a 4 hours a job a week thing. And you borrow people from other companies. Actually, I thought it was a very, very good example because Stockholm is kind of a game developer hub. And you can just kind of, there's a lot of new video game developers coming up. You know, the old DICE people and people from, what are they called? Anyway, lots of other studios, you know, and they're coming from other studios. So there's lots of innovation, and they're coming up with a lot of stuff like this. Like, let's just borrow this effects guy. Yeah, effects guy, very sought after. I have another example of our own company in Sweden. We were called Scattered Entertainment because we were actually not in Sweden. There was 5 of us in Sweden, the rest was in the rest of the world. And one day, the old money giver had said, we're not going to give you money anymore, but maybe there's another one. So we had 1 month, we didn't know what to do. So we said to each other, we're going to do market research, and we're going to work together, and everybody's going to take a genre. Somebody took the puzzles from king.com. Everybody took, I did stealth, because I love stealth games. So everybody took a genre, and we said, let's investigate this genre on mobile, and let's see how successful it is. Let's see what are the aspects in this genre that make it successful in mobile, and if there aren't any, let's find out why. So that's what we did, and everybody sat down, and we had this big market research, and we were around 20 people, so we had covered 20 genres, and we presented to each other. And imagine, there is the, you know, there's the coder, he never ever talks to anyone. There's the artist, he loves to talk, but he cannot really talk very well. And there's me, and I have never done a market research. So you have all of these people, and none of us are actually people who've ever done market research, but we did this together. There was a big, big, big learning event for all of us. So we did this market research, and when we're done with this, we were like, okay, now let's take the one model that we found the most successful, let's create pitches. So then everybody created a pitch for a game that they would like to do, and we pitched them to each other, and the pitches were really terrible, because we had never pitched before. You know, like it's, like, I don't know, I don't do this every day, but so we did it again. We did 2 rounds, and in the end, it turned out some of the pitches were really good. And we were like, wow, awesome. And then we were, when this was done, we said, now we would like to have more of these meetings because they've been super productive. Everybody learned from it. So we picked a game, everybody picked a game, and once a week we presented a game to each other in terms of monetization, gameplay, and the result of this was, we learned a lot. I think this is, in short, we learned so much. We learned to research the market, we understood what was out there on the market, we learned to pitch, and we even came up with a game. It's this one. But then our studio was closed down. But this one was almost ready. It was in April, and we were all very sad. There's actually 2 games, but I cannot mention the other one. But this one is actually, this is the thing that happens in video games. You know, you work, and then the studio closes, and you're like, damn it! Like it was just going so well. So I went scuba diving, and the others said, we're going to continue doing this. And so that's exactly what they did. They have been continuing to develop this game. We found another person with money, or another company, and now it's out on soft launch. So you can actually look at the trailer on YouTube, and you can, if you log into the Play Store in Malaysia or Indonesia, you can actually download the game, and I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that this time it's going to work. But it's this thing, like it's something that we learned because we all learned from each other in the company. And there is a Kate Edwards, I don't know if you've heard of her, she's a fantastic lady. She likes to dress up as Thor, you know, with a big hammer. She's the executive director of the International Game Developers Association. And she's a really cool person, and she's probably the biggest nerd I know. And she says, and this is about the fact that now you can just go and get a free Unity license. You don't have to pay anything. And you can get a free any license for most game engines. You don't have to pay as long as it's personal and non-commercial. Or sometimes even, you know, you can get a license model where you can say, if I start making money, then I'm going to start paying you. She says, we've seen this huge democratization of game development in a way that did not exist 5 years ago. And this is in an interview on entrepreneur.com. I hate this word. But anyway, it's very recent. So she's talking about 2016. So everything is in our hands. We can develop games. The problem is that it's going to be hard to get them seen because there are so many games out there, you know. So that's one of the big problems, like how do we get the game seen? So in the end, what skills do we need to thrive in the industry? You guys are already the experts at the technical skills. Keep learning, keep picking up skills, keep reflecting. What is it that I don't know? Because actually now we're going to come to a more important set of skills, and they're the ones, even in my company, where everybody is a senior and everybody has been working in the industry for around 10 years. We suck at this. We're really, really, really not good. Also at Crytek, basically the whole team sucks at this. You need collaboration skills. You need the word soft skills. You need to be able to say, this is what I want, and I'm going to present it. You need to be able to say, I'm going to make a compromise because I think I cannot have everything that I want, and also the stuff that you want is also right. And you need to be able to yield and say, okay, actually your idea is better than mine. Yeah? Or maybe it's just more reasonable. Maybe it's a terrible idea, but it's the only thing for us to go forward. So these are collaboration skills, and there is actually a third set of skills, and these are the skills that people keep forgetting because they're really boring. And and it's this kind of stuff. It's these people that dig around in contracts. It's the ones that, I don't know, talk to investors. It's the ones that do your, that do your accounting, that pay your money. It's the business skills and whatever, I just named them as business skills. These are the ones that are going to make sure that these skills are actually worth something, and those. So if you ever, I know 2 people in my whole game development career with big dev teams, I know 2 people who are good at the column on the right side. And one of them is actually shit in the middle, so you can't really talk to him unless you're a psychologist. But this is the thing, if you ever meet a person with a skill set on the right side that is willing to say, I'm going to help you put your games on the market, and I'm going to help you run your company, you should bake cookies for this person. You should invite them for dinner. You should, I don't know, take them to the zoo, whatever it is, like make them feel comfortable, make them your friend, and work together with them, because these are the ones that when you can be all creative and you're, like in the flow, they're the ones that are really, really bored because like there's contracts and all of this stuff, but they're going to make sure that the company is actually working. So this is one of these things. For me, it's very important because I have actually worked in this section on the right side for a long time. It's very underappreciated. You should consider this. And what does this mean for all of us? We should consider the game industry as a spectrum. You always have the chance to go to EA, and model shoes for FIFA until the end of your life. It's possible. You can do this. It's really boring unless you really love to model shoes. Do you want to make great games? Yeah, I don't know. Like you've picked a path as a game designer, game developer, awesome coder, level D, whatever it is that is your specialty. You've picked your path. Stick to it. But if you want to adapt it, you can of course adapt it. But that's your path. Keep reflecting. Keep adapting based on the environment that's happening around you. Here's a piece of shit advice. There's nobody that's going to help you with your career. There are some people that are going to say, I'm going to help you, and maybe they will give you one advice, but they're not going to be there the next time. You need to lead your own career. And this is the thing, nobody's going to say, I'm going to help you from now until in 15, 20 years when you reach your midlife crisis, with your career issues. You're the one, you're sitting in the driver's seat. Yeah, and sometimes people say they want to help you, but actually they just want to use your talent to buy a new Lamborghini. So this is one of these things. It's very, 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 very important to consider you're the master of your own career. You should make your own choices. You should make your own decisions. And I have a last really interesting, I love it. It's a quote, it's a commencement speech from Alan Watts. He's a kind of hippie philosopher from the 60s, 70s. And he says this, and I think it's one of these things that you should really consider with all of your steps. What do you desire? What makes you itch? And what sort of a situation would you like? And he also says one thing, which it only makes sense if you have these 2 salaries in your back. What would you do if money were not an issue? And I think this should always be shaping your career. You shouldn't sell your lifetime to somebody who just, gives you, I don't know, 6 euros an hour or 10, and then you get stomach ulcers and you get really sick. You should always keep this in mind with your career as video gamers, as video game developers, and as human beings. You should also consider that you're yourself, you're in the driver's seat. Yeah, don't crash, don't make an accident. Keep your eyes on the road. And that's it. Here's a pixelated picture. In my case, I prefer to go sailing right now. Is there any question that you have? But it's